We're going to talk a little bit about virtual leadership, a very, very little bit, and kind of talk about what the future looks like when it comes to virtual leadership. We're going to talk about a few concepts. We're going to go really deep into this kind of creative problem-solving space, capitalizing on opportunities right now. How do we thrive in our new environment? We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to explore a couple case studies, and actually you're going to explore yourself as a little bit of a case study as well. So my goal is that tonight, Thursday evening, you're with your partner, maybe you're back upstairs or you just walk across to the kitchen or wherever it is that you are, and they say to you, how was that thing you went to at lunch? And you look at them and say, it was good. It was really good. You know what? It gave me a couple things to think about. It refreshed a couple things for me. That's my goal. So congratulations to all of you for actually being here with us and being engaged. And Ron Heifetz from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard calls one activity of leaders getting on the balcony. And if you're getting on the balcony as a leader and every once in a while pausing, slowing down, and kind of looking at the dance floor from a different perspective, it can be transformational. So I want to thank each of you for metaphorically getting on the balcony today with me and really kind of exploring. And that's really what we're going to jump into and do. Now, just finished a textbook, and that textbook was with Tony Middlebrooks, Mindy McNutt, and Jim Morrison. So don't believe the haters. Jim Morrison's fine. He's alive. He's well. He's living in Delaware, and he writes and teaches leadership. And we wrote a book. And, you know, we came up with this definition of leadership. It's the process of influencing others towards a common vision. The process of influencing others towards a common vision. Another way of saying that is mobilizing others. So I had a great conversation with a former student of mine. He's at Progressive. This is right as kind of a lot of the stay-at-home orders started to kick in. And I said to him, well, tell me about leading virtual teams, because he's been doing it for about 10 years. And he said, you know what, Scott, it's the same what? We're doing the mission's the same. It's just as a leader in this virtual context, it's a little bit of a different how. And I loved the way he framed that up. Our work today, it's the same what? We have the same objectives, regardless of where you are in North America right now. How we get that work done, obviously that's shifted, that's changed. And so today we're kind of stepping back and taking a look from a big picture perspective. And when I think about leadership, this is kind of a classic model of leadership and developed by a couple of folks named Blake and Mouton. And basically they suggest, look, leaders, they're focused on two dimensions. You've got kind of a people dimension and you've got a process dimension. And you know what it feels like when you work for someone, he or she is way high on just the process dimension. All they care about is results, and that's their primary concern. We also know what it's like when you work for someone who is a little too focused on that people dimension, that they're so concerned about people and relationships that maybe results and accountability and things like that falter. So for every one of us on this Zoom right now, the goal is to be in that high space, that upper right-hand quadrant, where there's a high concern for people, high concern for results. So when you get into this virtual context and it comes to leadership, at least how I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to give you a link at the end of today. I wrote a bit of an article on this and posted it on LinkedIn. But in this new environment, some things we got to be thinking about on the people side are setting norms. We have a lot of new norms. When do we meet? How do we meet? Should my face be on the camera if we're having a meeting? Those are all new norms. When we connect, all new norms that we're negotiating. Prioritizing relationships, probably more important than ever, and how we're getting that work done. And then, of course, emotional intelligence. As a leader, you're focused on creating an emotional tone. I want you to think about your leader for a moment. How is he or she done at setting the tone for your team, especially in these last few months? Is it a positive, realistic, optimistic tone, or is it a tone that is stressed out, challenged, and maybe a little bit difficult? I have a great friend, talked with him the other day, and he said, my supervisor, she is a basket case. She's a wreck. and the stress is bleeding into the team, and it's already a stressful environment, but the tone she's setting is a very difficult one. So we've got the people side of the house, but then all of you know, process and results is a piece of the puzzle as well. So communicating purpose and vision and keeping people focused kind of on what we're trying to accomplish, problem solving in this new context, and then clear expectations, really making our work smart, ensuring that everyone is crystal clear about roles and what we need to do to accomplish tasks. Now today, where we're spending a lot of our time is in this problem solving space. This problem solving space is where we're going to exist, because you know what? There's a lot happening in the context right now. Leadership, it's a relationship between the leader, followers, and the context. And the context dictates a lot. It really does. And so what's happening in our context right now matters greatly because we are immersed in it. Now, you can ask 15 experts and probably get 15 different opinions as to how long this lasts, as to how we get out, as to what the future of work looks like. Today at 4 o'clock, I'm on a webinar about the future of work and what that's going to be. And so I'm constantly looking at multiple resources, multiple news outlets to try and make sense, at least for me, of what this looks like. But there's some startling stuff out there. Probably realistically, it would be okay to say that until a vaccine is located, or until a drug is repurposed in a very, very effective way, or a cocktail of drugs, this is something that we will live with on some level, So what does that mean for all of us? And what does that mean for our business? What happens if you're Marriott right now? What happens if you're Hertz Rent-A-Car right now? What happens if you are Ernst & Young? What happens if you are a car dealership? I don't know that I've driven my car more than 3 times in the last 3 months. So what does that mean for our work? And how do we plan and how do we survive? And not only survive, but how do we potentially thrive in this new context? And that's the conversation that we're going to jump into. And I think there's a lot of opportunity in this space and in this conversation. So a quick case study, and you're going to come back to me a couple times today as a case study for some of this dialogue. Every one of you on this Zoom right now, your case studies as well. I saw Shane, at least I saw his name on this. He is in charge of graduate education at SMU. The context has shifted. How do we thrive? Very quickly, even a few weeks ago, they came forth with a new MBA. Very cool. Awesome. How do we succeed? How do we survive? How do we thrive in this new context? Now, if you look at me in the last 3 months, teaching went from being online, being in person, face-to-face, had never taught an online course, to in March being thrust into this new environment that is completely different. Like I said, I used to feel like I was maybe kind of in a theater production. Now I feel like a DJ because I'm literally staring at a little black dot. And teaching, how do I create an incredible learning experience, whether it's a session like this, or whether it's a session that is a class? So teaching was completely upended for me. I run an organization, co-founded it, called the Collegiate Leadership Competition. Luigi discussed it a little bit in the introduction. We have 6 regions across North America. Colleges and universities get together. That's NYU, United States Air Force Academy, Johnson County Community College. They get together and they compete in a leadership competition every April. Well, all of those were canceled this year. We lost about $100,000 in revenue. Probably a number of institutions are going to be struggling next fall, not want to commit to being a participant where we have large gatherings of students, sometimes upwards of 200, 250. And that organization is in trauma. What do we do? I co-founded a company last October called Captivation. This company, imagine you have a smartwatch and you're giving a presentation, and you know that generally speaking, you might say too many space fillers. Maybe you know that you tend to speak slowly and kind of in a monotone fashion. Maybe you know that you go over time. Well, this app would help monitor your voice in real time. And if it's space fillers you want to improve, maybe you get a little haptic buzz. If you know that you're in a space, or if the watch, the smart device, catches you being slow and monotone for over a minute, you get a haptic buzz reminding you to pick up the pace, use vocal variety, and switch up how you're presenting. Well, think about that business model for a moment. Dead, done, at least for the foreseeable future, because no one's gathering with 500 people with live presentations where I would be doing anything where that would probably be relevant. So what do? Consulting. This spring, I was supposed to be in San Francisco, Toronto, Kansas City, St. Louis, Houston, Dallas. I was going to be in New York, going to be in Chicago, and a number of other client engagement with the Cleveland Clinic or Key Bank here in Northeast Ohio, all decimated, done. Tens of thousands of dollars in revenue for my family, for me, gone. So I know that every one of you also have a story. You do. It's real. And how do we survive? How do we thrive in this new context? It's a fascinating puzzle. So as I'm talking about this content today, I'm also living this content very much in a very, very real way, as are many of you. How we get out, I think there's a mindset and a way of thinking that can help provide us with some clues. So this is what we're going to explore next. And it's a fun, interesting conversation. One other quick challenge that's not on this list. What do I do with my kids all summer long? Wow. Fascinating puzzle for many of us on this Zoom call. What do we do with our kids all summer? At least in Northeast Ohio, the pools are closed. Camps are closed. What do we do? So there's this guy, as I mentioned earlier, Ron Heifetz. He's at Harvard. He's at the Kennedy School of Government. He helps people think about leadership, and he has a wonderful book, a couple of them, but my favorite is called Leadership Without Easy Answers. Leadership Without Easy Answers. Luigi, maybe we could type that into the chat. Leadership Without Easy Answers. Now, he talks about the work of leaders. My friend Ed O'Malley at the Kansas Leadership Center suggests that leadership is risky and it's rare, that it's really, truly rare. I just finished a podcast discussion with him, which was a fascinating dialogue. But KLC, the Kansas Leadership Center, they also kind of subscribe to this technical versus adaptive challenges philosophy. So a technical problem is any problem where we can call an expert and that expert can fix it. Someone in the globe exists to maybe clean out the plumbing in my heart so that the cholesterol is gone. Someone has the expertise to fix my car so that I no longer have a flat tire. So a lot of that those types of problems exist in the world. There's a known solution. We want to eliminate measles. There's a known solution. Now, adaptive challenges are things like, how do you stop people from getting to the point where they have heart disease? How do you help people? How do we combat the obesity epidemic? COVID-19. It's an adaptive challenge because no answer currently exists. We are literally building the boat as we're leaving the harbor. And so adaptive challenges are difficult to identify, even the source. They require changes in values, beliefs, relationships. We've seen a lot of that play out even in the media with masks. Wearing a mask is a change in a norm in our society, and some people are okay with that, some people are not. The issue's been politicized. It's really interesting, but working through these adaptive challenges, you know what? It takes change. People with the problem oftentimes must solve it, and it requires a ton of experimentation. A ton of experimentation. So right now, if we go back to COVID-19, the world's best scientists right now are at work as we speak, and they are running experiment after experiment after experiment. What if we repurpose this drug, this cocktail of drugs? Could this vaccine work? What if we put people on their stomach? Could masks and social distancing fix this? What'd they do in Japan? Why'd that work? How is Sweden working out? Texas opened up sooner than Ohio. All of those are experiments because no authority figure has the answer. So technical versus adaptive challenges, a very, very important distinction. And a problem that all of us on this Zoom call have is that when confronted with what does a summer look like without camp, without friends, without the pool, without so many other things that are the norms, we almost even get stuck even beginning to imagine what a fun summer could look like. We have conceptual blocks, they're called. Now, conceptual blocks are mental barriers that impede our ability to define or even solve a problem. The way things always have been creates our reality to such a level that we struggle to think of new, innovative, and creative paths forward. They're rules we have in our head, and those rules simply aren't necessarily there. And they're often subconscious. They're working us. We aren't necessarily working them. So conceptual blocks, it's kind of an interesting thing. I'm going to give you one example right now. What I would love for you to do is this. I'm going to show you something to read, and I want you to read it. And when you have the answer, if you would, I think we could go into the participants button. And if you would, go ahead and just type in or click yes. Only if you have the right answer. Once I push this forward. Only when you have the right answer should you click yes. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to kind of read and come up with the answer to this little puzzle. If you would, just click yes. Okay, I have 5 yeses, and I believe we have roughly 42 people on our line. Here's the answer. The surgeon is a female. And kind of fascinating. The first time I shared that with my wife, she said, do not tell anyone ever that I didn't get that answer. But conceptual blocks, for some reason, even some subconscious norms that are working our thinking, assume that the physician or the surgeon would be a man. And so that's a very, very simple example of a conceptual block. It's a rule we have in our head that frames how we think. Another answer to that question is that it's a gay couple, which is something that I didn't see for years. That was a conceptual block I had, but a participant once said that in a session. Kind of an interesting solution as well. Now, this has major ramifications because we have a biological tsunami coming. We also have a little bit of a digital tsunami on our way. And so here we go. We're going to kind of take a look at this digital space for a moment. It's going to be a little bit of a detour, but it's going to make sense in a couple moments. Conceptual blocks, rules we have in our head that frame how we think about something, that stall our ability to think creatively and solve problems. Okay. Here's an example from corporate life of a conceptual block. I believe there's one blockbuster left. I think it's in Bend, Oregon. For any of you on your way to Bend this summer, love that quote. Love that quote. Keyword for Jim is former. Now, major ramifications in business, major ramifications in business. I'm going to go to Instagram first. Kind of a rule people had in their head that as a multi-billion-dollar company would have tens of thousands of employees. Well, the week Kodak filed for bankruptcy, Instagram was sold to Facebook for $1 billion. with 13 employees. Before Netflix, the rule was we don't stream video. That's not a thing we do. Before Southwest Airlines, the rule was we have a bunch of different types of planes. We go out of major airports like O'Hare, and that's how aircraft and flight and airlines work. Southwest came along and said, you know what, that doesn't have to be a rule. We're going to fly out of Midway. We're going to have all the same planes, so all of our mechanics know how to do the work, and we're going to simplify. In fact, love being their symbol, LUV, they actually made it fun. For any of you who've ever sat in a terminal waiting for a late Southwest flight, we'll count the numbers of holes in our socks and get a voucher, all kinds of things. But a conceptual block was that airlines have to be run a certain way. FedEx, before FedEx, it was, you know what, you can't get there overnight. Airbnb, we want to create the world's largest lodging company, but own no real estate. How about that for thinking? Kind of fascinating. Uber, the world's largest people moving service, and we don't own any vehicles. Rocket Mortgage, upper right here, has drastically reduced the time that it takes for a person to get a mortgage, and they are now the largest lender in the country. And of course, Tesla, you know what? Self-driving cars, which it's basically a computer with a battery shaped like a car. But Tesla and SpaceX have moved past. Before SpaceX, the rule was governments build rockets, not companies. And SpaceX, of course, has now created a partnership. And on Saturday, we've got something kind of exciting to watch. So these conceptual blocks frame our thinking and in some cases make us ripe for disruption. Now, I have a video for you to watch. This is kind of fascinating. Now, I'd love for you to explore a book called The War on Normal People. It's by a gentleman named Andrew Yang. He was a Democratic candidate for president. That's not why I share it. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. What I care about is the platform he was running on. And he kind of had a way of thinking about the future. Essentially, he suggests that the most common jobs in the United States are truck driver, service worker, like a retail sales associate. We've got food service prep, and we've got call center worker. Those are probably constitute about 30 million jobs in the United States. Well, this company here, Spice, that you see on the screen, you could Google them, kind of a fascinating story. They are MIT grads. They built a robotic system to make bowls. They hired a Michelin star chef, had him come up with all of the recipes, and now they have automated. We no longer need a cook in this restaurant. Amazon Go is also revolutionizing how we do work. Now, if you go into the chat, Luigi is going to put a link to a video. What I would love for you to do is this. Cut and paste the link into your browser, and I want you to watch that video. And you're going to have to scroll down a little bit on the screen and click play. But I want you to look at the future of retail. And for any of you who have stood in line at a CVS or a Walgreens lately, or in your grocery store, wouldn't this be nice? This is Luigi, would you go ahead and click that link in there? Luigi, would you put yourself on mute, watch the video, and give me a thumbs up when the video's over for you? I'd like for each of you to go ahead and play that video and explore Amazon Go.
Okay, Scott.
Great. Okay. Conceptual blocks. Conceptual blocks at Blockbuster left them ripe. Kodak, they couldn't figure out how to shift the business model. It created space for an organization like Instagram to take over. Amazon Go, the conceptual block is we need a building filled with retail sales associates. They're coming along and saying, does that have to be a reality? Tesla's coming along and saying, you know what? I'm going to make an electric car that is fast, sexy, safe, digital. We're actually going to upload software upgrades to the car, and that's how we're going to move forward. Can you imagine Elon Musk, the first time he was in a board meeting, the conceptual blocks, just the representation someone had of what an electric car was? And now you can go Google ludicrous mode or Google sleeping man on highway in Tesla. And it's pretty scary stuff. So conceptual blocks. And now, like I said, we have this digital tsunami kind of coming towards us, but we also have this biological. This COVID-19 is shifting work rapidly. And so how do we move past a previous way of thinking and get our thinking to a space that's somewhere new, that is a place where we can thrive? So if we go back to the COVID-19 example real quick, what we have going on with these adaptive challenges, this is a little bit of a process model. What we have going around the world is this. You have scientists asking questions. What if we turn them on their stomachs? What if we repurpose this drug? We have experiments then being run. We are getting data back quickly, and we're learning rapidly, and then it's informing new experiments. And that's what we're doing to try and gain traction to move in a new direction. So adaptive challenges that many of you on this Zoom call are experiencing or facing, there's a process here. This is a flotation device that can help you think through how to move forward. Now, one thing I love about this model is this. Oftentimes we have a bit of a conceptual block in our heads, and I can't emphasize this point enough, that as the leader, I have to have the answers. I have to chart the path forward. I have to figure it out, and I have to be the one to decide. Now, in some cases, that's all very true. When we're struggling with an adaptive challenge, in my opinion, the leaders are framing up the best questions for their teams to work or for their own minds to work. That's the responsibility of the leader in this situation. What are the right questions we could be asking that could take our thinking out of our current way of being and get us to somewhere totally new? And avoiding that pressure of having to have all the answers at first. I did a session with one of the big four accounting firms yesterday, their managers in a certain region, and an individual said, well, Scott, can you tell us how we should stay in touch with our clients? And I looked at them and I said, no, but that's a great question for you to work with your team right now so that you can start running some experiments so that you can stay close to the clients. I don't have that answer. No person has that answer. I can give you a list of ideas, but just that question right there is critical. Another question I got yesterday was, well, you know, how do we keep people engaged? It's summer now. There's going to be people wanting to go outside, maybe even midday. What does that look like? How do we keep people engaged? That's the question that leader and their team need to start working. And that helps identify experiments we can run and then paths forward and see what the new looks like, the new reality looks like. So I'm going to go back to my situation. My problems, and I could frame them as problems. These are also incredible opportunities, but my problems were these, right? People are no longer gathering for in-person workshops and trainings. This is literally tens of thousands of dollars of income I've lost. How do I quickly retool and create a foundation for consulting work online? What do I do? How do I do that? That's a question that took me out of my current way of being, planes, live audiences, and brought me to some new places in my thinking. Education. My courses could be online for the next 12 to 18 months. I didn't know. How do I create transformational learning experiences online? How do I lead the way at my institution, in the industry? How could I be the person at the forefront of creating transformational online learning experiences? The Collegiate Leadership Competition will lose $100,000 plus in revenue in 2020. How do we design an experience that's global, digital, sustainable, a force for positive change, and elegantly simple in design? And I sat on a 2-hour conversation yesterday with kind of where our thinking is now that I think could create a much better, more powerful, impactful organization in the long run. Captivation, a product that provides real-time feedback, is irrelevant, especially in front of live audiences. How do we use this moment to position ourselves to be at the forefront of training people to present online? What if our resource partnered with Zoom, and now all of a sudden we are kind of attaching ourselves to a whale, and wow, what kind of opportunity? And there's no books online about presenting online. There's books about webinars, but how do we present beautifully online? Well, that's a potential way of thinking about this. So here's where we go now. And we're at 1:36, or actually it's 12:36 for most of you. I'd love for you to have a couple conversations in breakout rooms. If you're willing to get on the screen, that would be wonderful so that other people can see you and they can connect with you. But I want you to answer one simple question. If you'd like, you could take a picture of the screen right now so that you remember what the question is. We all have been there. You get to the room and you say to each other, what were we supposed to talk about? Well, now you know. Take a picture. But what questions are you pondering in your business? And it could be your business, it could be your department, it could be, and the questions are going to stem from some of the pains that you're feeling. So the pain that you're feeling can be flipped into a question. And if you frame the question correctly, it can start moving you past some of those conceptual blocks that are holding you back. So Luigi, let's go 5 minutes, nothing long or really extensive. Actually, let's go 7 minutes if we could, Luigi.
Sure.
And what we'll do is this: we're going to put you in some breakout rooms, and I'd love for you to have the conversation. What are some questions you're pondering in your business, your department, your organization? What are some key questions that can transform your thinking and help you thrive in this kind of biological disruption we're experiencing and this digital disruption that we're experiencing? I'll see you in 7.
All right. If you've never been in a breakout room on Zoom, please click on join in your screen, and it'll take you to a room with some other people. Scott, you might get sent to a room. Scott, you might get sent to, don't click on yours, Scott. All right, here we go. All rooms are open. Please click on join room. There we go.
So if you're still in this room, you have an opportunity to click on a room and go join the conversation. Or we can have a conversation in here if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
So Luigi, this happened the other day with the IMS session as well, where a large faction of people never went to the breakout room. Yeah. Which doesn't happen in real time.
Oh, that's right in front of you. No. Yeah. Some people have chosen not to join. That's their prerogative.
Yep.
I'm moving people around.
You're moving them into rooms?
Well, yeah, one was empty, so I had to move somebody.
Oh, okay. You left. Luigi, before we move on, any feedback? Can you hear me, Luigi? For some reason, I can't hear you. Oh, okay.
I'm on mute.
Okay.
That's why. No feedback. All good.
Okay.
I like how you're pushing people on the conceptual blocks.
Good. Well, Luigi, I mean, it's fascinating. We were on the call for CLC yesterday, and like I said, 2 hours. And it's just amazing to watch how it frames our thinking. And at one point, Bella, you have 3 people who are immersed in this content and practicing it.
Mm-hmm.
And Bella just made a comment. She's like, you know, I think we have a conceptual block that it has to be this way. It could be this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. That's brilliant. If you were that person who thinks that way, power.
Well, that's why I said we kept having that. Are we going to be live or are we going to be online? And like we said, it's going to be both.
Yeah. And if it's both, at least then you can plan. Like you you stretched my thinking the other day when we were chatting, because there's a lot of opportunity and ways there if you're thinking about it correctly.
Yep. And general good consumer practice is to give people choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So people want choice, options they can exercise that they are comfortable with.
Did I create this? Can you see the green line on my screen?
I don't think so. Let me look here.
I think we might have used annotate.
Oh yeah, I see a little one there. Okay.
Okay. I got
Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
I just did it again. Clear all drawings. But it was interesting, and we might even have it today. At the end, people will ask questions, and the question is the thing that they need to work with their team. Because an answer doesn't exist about how you motivate your 5 employees in the summertime. I feel like I'm giving non-answers sometimes, but you know, it's the truth. They need to kind of co-create a path forward.
You got to live into the question, they say.
Yeah. A friend of mine is a partner at PwC here in Northeast Ohio, has a book. It's called A More Beautiful Question. I haven't read it yet, but he suggested it. It just arrived, so I need to read it.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, I've got about another minute here.
Okay. You know what I've noticed also about this medium is that I often thrive off of the energy of the crowd.
Sure.
For my sense of humor.
Sure.
And I haven't figured out yet how to do that in this space.
Yeah. They've got those little reactions at the bottom. Maybe they need to have one that's got laughter.
So I'm going to go about another 5-10 minutes.
I'm going to bring him back. Oh yeah. You're good.
Okay.
5 to 10. Yeah. 10, 15 at the most. All right, I'm going to close the rooms. We'll take a minute to close them.
Great.
All right, 30 seconds. Folks are coming back.
Okay.
10 seconds. All righty.
Okay.
It's it. Oh.
Welcome back.
Zoom, you're back. You feel kind of like moved around in this new medium. You just plopped into different spaces mid-conversation.
Virtual space.
I hope you had a great conversation. I hope you began to explore some of those questions, because I think for me, that's the starting point, is what is the elegant question that I need to really begin to work so that me and my team can identify a path forward. And when I say me and my team, I think that's critical. If you have a solid team of people who are willing to give you feedback, you know what? It's how do we navigate summer with our work? And what does that look like? And what are the expectations? And co-creating that with team or with colleagues, trusted peers that you can have conversations with. And no one's going to have the answer, as we've discussed. No one's going to have the answer, but you're going to start gathering data and beginning to kind of sit with those questions. So I'm going to show you an example of where I am. Actually, this is me a little bit back, maybe about a week or two ago. So you got the problem, or the opportunity, we could say. Now let's start with my consulting. How do I quickly retool? Now E1 through 4, those are experiments. So offer pro bono week 1. I reached out to the Cleveland Leadership Center and I said, I'd love to do some programming for you at no cost. And those workshops turned into opportunities for practice for me. They turned into opportunities for me to start learning this new space. And I still am learning this new space, but they got me kind of in the game. I really started to work on social media presence, and that was another experiment that I started to run. I started a podcast, and I spent $300 on a couple shelves. I'm actually in my guest bedroom right now. Got some lighting, retooled. You can't see the bed that's right there or the dresser that's right there, but I created a little bit of a studio. So when I'm doing class or consulting work, I have a place to kind of exist, and it looks professional. Courses might be online for 12 to 18 months. I'm not going to go through each of these. I just want to get you kind of into the mindset of how to think about. Collegiate leadership competition is going to lose $100,000. Brainstorm online platforms, talk with experts in esports, online escape rooms. Those are opportunities. My son sits out here of the room that I'm in, and he works on a team with his friends playing Fortnite 1 hour a day. And that's potentially something we could, now obviously we would not use a first-person shooter game. That's not appropriate. But online gaming, these multiplayer, massive online games, there's potentially some opportunity there. Really focusing on our coaches and making sure that they are very much in tune with what's going on. And then putting everything online like I would my course. Those are a couple other experiments that we're considering, we're thinking through. And of course, I gave you some ideas for that conversation around captivation. I'm going to stop with kind of a story. This is an organization here in Northeast Ohio called Edwin's. Luigi is going to put a link to a documentary in chat. So you could click on that and open a new window, and later you could watch this. It's about 40 minutes. It was nominated for an Academy Award, did not win for Best Documentary. But this is a restaurant. It's a French fine dining restaurant, 4-star, here in Northeast Ohio. And EdWins stands for Education Wins. And its founder, Brandon Chrostowski, kind of found himself on the wrong side of the law, found cooking and culinary arts, and really charted his path forward. He became a chef and moved to Northeast Ohio, opened this restaurant, and the only people who work in this restaurant are formerly incarcerated individuals. They're teaching them fine French cuisine. They work in the kitchen, they work in the front of the house, they have a butcher shop, they have a bakery, they do incredible things in the community. And again, French cuisine. When all of this happened, Brandon knew that French fine dining wasn't going to be on people's minds. In fact, they couldn't even come into the restaurant. So he ran a number of experiments. He said, how do we thrive? How do we survive in this current context? What do we do? They brought their grill out in front of the restaurant and changed their entire menu so that it reflected the kind of new reality. So they had grilled items that you could purchase every night before dinner. They also had a deal called 4 for $40. It would feed a family of 4 for $40. But he knew people wouldn't want French cuisine. He knew that they would want comfort food. So the whole menu shifted. He knew that people coming into the bakery or the butcher shop before Mother's Day, before Easter, they would need some other staples, maybe like eggs or milk. So they did some light construction and actually added some more options in their establishments. As of about 3 weeks ago, they were 75% up for the week, year over year. They really increased their social media presence, let it be known. Every one of their posts had probably 60, 70 likes, and he made sure that people knew that they were there and they're thriving. And they've actually stumbled upon some ideas. He said, we're going to keep the 4 for $40 and we're going to have it go out of the butcher shop because it's been an incredible revenue stream for us. It's been awesome. So, problem solving. Whether it's the biological disruption we're experiencing or the digital disruption that we're experiencing. In my mind, one way to think about this is to ask the right questions. It's to begin there. Usually the source of our question is a pain point. This morning, it was raining outside. Our schedule for our kids wasn't going to fly. That's a pain point in the moment. I looked at my wife and I said, we need to co-create an indoor schedule for the days that we have rain days. And we need to ask the kids what they want that day to look like if it's a rain day. And we're going to co-create that tonight. So questions. And I'm going to run the experiment. I can't tell you if the rain day schedule is going to actually work. We don't know. But we're going to run the experiment and see if it is. We're going to evaluate, and then we're going to learn, and we're going to start that cycle all over again. So adaptive challenges, there's no answer. You're building the bridge as you're crossing it. You're building the boat as you're leaving the harbor. No authority figure has the solution. But if you're asking the right questions, if you're staying in the game, and if you're running experiments, safe, quick, actionable experiments, you'll learn and chart a path forward. Now, I love this quote. This quote frames so much in my life. Our 4 areas that you know Scott's working on, we're going to get data back. Every system's perfectly designed to achieve the results that it gets. And so as we're thinking about moving into new realities, as we're thinking about running experiments, you're going to get data back. And is it working? Brandon, he's getting data back that what they've done is working. The system is achieving a certain level of results, and it's looking pretty good for him. Other organizations, they're in trauma right now. They're struggling, and they aren't there. But I love this quote. We are here on earth right now because the system allows it. Now, we could get into philosophical and religious conversations as well, but I'm just going to leave that there. But I think the system allows us to be here. I have a system in place for weight, and it's yielding certain results. I wish it was different results right now. And your business is yielding certain results. And is the system working? And if not, how do we run experiments to get somewhere new? So if you'd like, this is how you can find me online. I have a podcast and we talk with a lot of leadership educators about some really cool, interesting topics. I have a website, and of course there's all the social media as well. So I hope that this time that you've spent on the balcony today has provided you with a couple insights. I hope that tonight at dinner, when you're with your significant other, or your cats or your dogs, and they look at you and say, was that thing you did at lunch worthwhile? You say, yeah, it was. And that's my goal. And so Luigi, I think we
Mhm.
have
Yep.
roughly
We
4
got some
minutes.
time. Yeah, we got some. No, we can go past 1 o'clock. This was scheduled at 1:30.
Okay.
So questions, please put them in the chat for Scott, and I'll relay them to him. Thanks so much for that presentation, Scott. Very
You bet.
definitely pushing the boundaries of our thinking. That's really an important aspect of thriving in this time. It's really easy to get stuck in ruts.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, people are mostly thanking you at this point. No questions yet.
They're out figuring out what experiments to run.
That's right. All right. So first question up is, what does tomorrow hold for you, Scott?
Tomorrow's Friday, right? Tomorrow holds for me. I hope it's a sunny day, so we have schedule 1 in effect for the kids and family. I've class tonight, and then I've just been working on some really, really fun projects, and again trying to thrive and run new experiments. So that's what tomorrow. That's what tomorrow holds for me. How do we sell IT software in this situation? So Rao, you know that I do not have an answer for you, but that is a beautiful question to ask your team. That's a beautiful question to ask peers. It's a beautiful question to start searching and doing research online. And ultimately what's going to happen is your team is going to work that problem, come up with a list of 40 or 50 experiments we could be running, choosing the best options you have. Because I showed you a list of 3 or 4 experiments. I had a list of 15 or 20. These were the ones I was going to start with. So Rao, as I think about that question, I think about you with your team conceptualizing the experiments you could run and then choosing 3 or 4 that you think would be best and then getting the data back. And every system's perfectly designed for the results that it achieves. You know that what you were doing may no longer be working. How do we pivot? And just like Edwin's, chart a new path in this new reality. Luigi, Kathy just wanted the link to the future of retail. You got that? Looks like it.
Yep. I already posted it.
How does real estate hospitality get sold in this COVID situation? It's a similar answer, and I don't mean to be giving non-answers, but I'm not in real estate, and I'm not in hospitality. What I do know is that there's people running experiments right now. I know that there's opportunities out there, and there's people trying to find solutions about how to sell real estate, how to sell Airbnbs. I've read a little bit about that. So one of my first steps would be to Google that. Another step that I would take is to start talking with some peers and trusted mentors and advisors, asking everyone I know that question, gathering data, and then thinking through the best experiments to think about moving forward. So, for me, that's how I think about that question. I don't have the answer, just like I didn't have the answer for my own consulting business. But you got to come up with the right questions, talk to everyone about that question, go to all kinds of different resources, families. So for instance, my wife and I have talked about that question a little bit. Should we go stay somewhere for a month this summer? What does that look like? And I think it's a beautiful question to start exploring.
Scott, we got a question here that relates to your being in a university environment. How are you envisioning the university experience for undergrads right now?
Universities are in a little bit of a bind. It's a challenging situation, and you've got a safety issue in residence halls and young people together. Imagine Friday night house parties. What I continue to hear most institutions discuss is this high flex model, which is a hybrid model where you might have some people in a room with a professor, you might have some people on a screen, you might have some people who are still zooming into the experience. But I believe that what's going to move forward is some hybrid model that's going to meet the needs of many, because there may be faculty who feel like they're compromised, who don't want to enter into a situation that could compromise them. So it's going to be some kind of hybrid model moving forward is what my assumption is. I'm personally planning for all of my courses in the fall to be online, with the assumption that I can move offline very, very quickly and easily. It's more difficult for me to do the opposite. And if something gets disrupted mid-semester, then I have an opportunity to kind of check back in and kind of hit the ground running. This spring was much different than that. So I think it's going to be different, again, until we have a vaccine or a cocktail of drugs that minimize the concern. I think we're going to be in this state of flux. There have been a lot of, at least recent days, data that's suggesting that the masks and social distancing is working well. We'll see. I mean, after Memorial Day, I'm waiting for the next couple weeks of data to kind of pile in as we saw images of people out and about more and more, especially over Memorial Day. So for me, it's a little bit of a wait and see, but how I'm planning is fully online, so it's ready to go. But my institution is going to come forth with what's called high flex.
And that is?
A blend of in-person and,
Let this hang in.
Yeah.
Another question here, kind of in a similar vein, but just in general, what can leaders do to prepare teams to return to work as businesses reopen, specifically those that may have concerns?
Okay. Again, beautiful question to talk about with peers and organizational leaders. So for me, that's step one, is asking that question. I think that's also asking the question of the team. What do we need to do? As we transition back into our space, what do we need to do to feel comfortable and confident that we're going to be okay? So for me, that's an important conversation to have with the team as well. Now, if you have a team and they don't trust you, or they're afraid to give authentic, honest feedback, that can be a little bit of a problem. So I think before you have that conversation, you have to be confident that your team feels comfortable to bring their full selves to that conversation. So are you known as a man or a woman who's open to feedback? Are you known as a man or a woman who will take dissenting voices well? And at least that's how I think I would feel most comfortable moving forward. Asking that exact question to my peers, to my superiors, to my specific team. What do we need to do? What do we need to do to feel comfortable, to be safe, and to do this in a way that makes the transition easy, most importantly safe, but it kind of eases us back into what normality was. That's how I think about that question, because every team, every group is going to be different. And the makeup of the group you're speaking of, I have no sense. Are they millennials? Are they individuals close to retirement? I don't have any sense of that. So for me, that's the conversation.
All right, Scott. I mentioned to the group that you are a faculty member of our Cox Leadership Academy. I'd like to just share a few things with the remaining folks about that academy,
Great.
in case they're interested. So let me just hop up here.
Sure.
Oops, wrong one. Try again. Got the wrong screen. All right. So for those of you that might be at the VP level and above in your organizations or know someone who is, this September we'll have a program that we're going to run called the SMU Cox Leadership Academy. And that is a 10-day program. It is run, as you can see from the dates, 2.5 days, about every other month. And the goal of this program is to really transform you and those around you with a more confident leadership vision and approach from the inside out. Our mission here at the SMU Cox School of Business is to equip leaders with knowledge, skills, and experience needed to become transformative business leaders in a changing world. The Academy fulfills that mission. The objectives of the program are to cultivate more confidence in one's own capability, agility, and resilience, develop a growth mindset. Oh, for some reason this just jumps ahead once in a while on its own, so pardon me if I have to flip back. Increase creativity and innovation, as we saw today in terms of problem solving. Achieve maximum foresight and execution. Even in a time of crisis, we need to be looking ahead and seeing what we can do to come out better on the other end. Become succession ready at the VP level. This is likely one of the reasons you would be supported in your organization for a program like this, and learn how to leave a legacy. So more specifically, the components are a 6-month journey to becoming a transformative leader. There'll be a 360-degree assessment called the Multi-Factor Leadership and Authenticity Questionnaire. It looks at you on a scale of transactional, laissez-faire, and transformational by those around you. So you'll get feedback on how you're coming across and how you might become more transformational. So these are bi-monthly residencies for 2.5 days. I say on our main SMU campus in the Collins Center, but we will also have an online option for those that want to participate from a distance. I'll get into our leadership model here in a minute, but it's personalized learning through one-on-one coaching. There'll be 6 sessions of coaching throughout the 6 months. There'll be an action learning project to apply some of the things that we learn, and there will be featured industry leaders, speakers throughout the program. So the model looks like this. It's an integrated model of leadership and learning, where we would like to see you sponsored by some executive in your organization, preferably the person you report to. There'll be the 360 assessment. There'll be some program pre-work, the coaching I mentioned, mixed modality learning experiences. So each session will have a number of ways that people are learning. The action learning project, there'll be individual learning plans and reflective exercises. So we're really focused on the learner and giving them the best experience that they can have in this process. Here's the topics. Won't go into each of these here, but a variety of topics that relate to becoming a transformative leader. Oh, there it goes. And I just want to point out a couple of them here. Obviously, becoming a transformative leader starts us off. We will look at emotional and social intelligence and resilience. Those are some key attributes. Scott is leading our program on leading in a digital age. He'll frame up what it looks like to be leading in this time of digitization. Leader as coach. And then innovating through human-centered design is another one of our programs, along with leading effective change. So those are the topics. I'll show you how they set up in a minute. This list just is to reflect, and you can look at this more deeply online on our website, but the number of competencies that you're going to develop through this program are numerous here, as you can see, and really hit the button in terms of what a good leader needs. The selection criteria, so that you're aware, when you go to our website and look to register, you'll be actually asked to fill out a survey before you can register. And I will review that survey answers and interview you to see if you qualify for the program. What does some of that mean? Identified and validated by the organization as a current or future senior enterprise level leader. So you've been nominated or identified. Obviously a strong desire to learn, grow, and change, high potential and high capability. You've had consistently strong performance. You are already demonstrating leadership characteristics. You have support from your direct leader as well as the organization. Ability to commit to the requirements of the program and willingness to invest time and energy to participate fully for the benefit of self, but not only yourself, but the others in the room. This is really about creating an environment where we're learning from each other as well. So this is just how it's set up in terms of half-day modules. Each of the courses, either a half-day or full-day modules. So here we've got a full-day module with digital and teams, half-day on decision-making, half-day on coach, half-day on analytics, full-day on innovation. So it just breaks up differently for each module. So why us? If you're not familiar with the Cox School of Business, we're obviously a prestigious business school. We just celebrated 100 years right before the pandemic. And we've been a longstanding member of the community here, developing leaders over that time. We work collaboratively with our stakeholders and participants and learners. We've got proven instructors, true and tested content. All that adds up to high value investment in leadership development, one of our key strength areas. We train business leaders, not academics. So this is not a course that's academic in any way other than from the rigor of research we pull that applies to good practice. And as we mentioned, we're in tune with the adult learner who basically knows what they need to learn typically, and as an adult learner wants to apply what they're learning as soon as they can to get the results. And that's what we're oriented toward. We have expert engaging faculty. You've just experienced one who are leaders in their fields, relevant content, innovative tools to put to work right away, and collaboration and networking with diverse colleagues will be part of this program. An innovative learning environment to think and test ideas and access to full university resources. So our vision is to create ideas that educate, develop, and inspire leaders to make a difference in the world. And our mission in executive education specifically, like at Cox, is to develop well-rounded leaders who are innovative, entrepreneurial, and analytically skilled, who can leverage technology in a global setting to solve complex business issues. These are some of the organizations we currently work with that have participated in our programs, either in an open program like the one we're offering here, or in a custom program that we've done specifically for them. So I'm sure you'll recognize some of the local names here as well as national names. Clients, what have they said? What you learn can be put into immediate use. There's good energy, enthusiasm, and purpose to the learning. You can trust the quality. It's flexible and creative. And tap into valuable faculty resources. We've won awards for our programs from the magazine Chief Learning Officer in terms of designing excellent programming. And so to summarize, since 1978, we've developed over 125,000 leaders. We'd like you to be one of those next leaders in our academy, if that makes sense for you. We've collaborated with the North Texas business community for 42 years in this partnership with Exec Ed. A dozen years of partnership with Baylor, Scott and White Health right now in terms of forging leadership in healthcare. Talked about the awards. Our customers come back year after year because of the work we do, and we do it well. So this is what the certificate would look like when you complete the program. We'd love to have you be part of that. And just quickly, if that's not the right program for you, the Cox Leadership Academy, we do have a few other programs that might be better suited for you. At the director level and above, a 10-week course on Tuesday evenings from 6 to 9 is called Transformational Leadership. There is a program for Rising Latino Leaders that starts on September 14th. If you're newer to management or have been in management a little while, but need to get to revisit the fundamentals of management, this is a great 10-week course to do that, again on Tuesday evenings from 6 to 9. We have a one-day program on leading organizational change. That's a simulation where you get to actually practice implementing change in a simulated organization to see if you can move them along to a better outcome. we're initiating a new program this year called Women in Leadership. That starts on 10/5. It's a 3.5-day program. On 10/6, this has been a repeat program for us for many years, Master Negotiations, taught by Robin Pinkley, who's a renowned expert in that arena, has written many books on the topic, and that's a 3-day program. Finally, in November, if you're in the business of owning a business or helping to develop business, mergers and acquisitions is a 5-day intensive course that can help you with that process from A to Z. We cover all the ground. And finally, a new program for us called Building the Intelligent Enterprise, where we are going to look at how AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning, and DL, deep learning, are impacting the decisions we make in our organizations today. So with that, I'll leave this up on the screen here as we exit. These are your contacts, myself, Sherry Moore, who's the director in our organization, and Ana Rodriguez, specifically for rising Latino leaders and women in leadership. She's the point of contact there. So we hope to be an ally for business and an ally for life for you. Thanks for hanging in there with us and being here on this webinar. At this point, I'll wish you well and have a good day. Oh, is someone trying to say something? I can't hear. Scott, do you hear something?
I do not.
Okay, I thought I heard something. Thank you. All right, we'll end it now then.
Take care, Luigi.
Take care.